I'm talking about like when you talk about brain size or skeletal bone structure or whatever. Archaeologists, for example, have a very tough time distinguishing between male and sex, or male and female. I apologize. Uh, when you see the male skeleton next to the female skeleton, those are very different. Those are
Got
a
it.
range.
So,
everything else, most people are usually in the middle of
here's
that.
the kicker. So you are a biological male. No matter how much surgery or hormones you take, you'll never be able to give birth.
Yeah,
So,
I'm okay with that.
right, but so then at what point is womanhood achieved then? At what point do you become a woman?
I feel pretty. Yeah.
So
I can look at myself and not want to kill myself, so.
well, hold on. So now we're getting to something. Maybe is it possible that you might have other underlying mental health issues that you are then ascribing as transgenderism that you might not be
No.
treating?
What's up YouTube? Hope you guys are feeling good. Today guys, we're back again to a new video. Today we're going to be checking out Charlie Kirk, HUMILIATES pro-trans leftists. This is going to be amazing to watch. I think there's a part 2 of it. I'd love to check the video out with you guys. I call him Charlie Kick because he loves kicking us. Let's get right into today's video, guys.
Hello,
Yes.
my name's Eve, your local transsexual. I just wonder where you get this idea that like trans people are being indoctrinated.
Okay, so are you say you're transsexual or transgender? And tell me, is there a technical difference in the two?
Damn. Okay. Some people say that there's a difference. To me, there's no difference. So it's just either or.
Okay, so what are your chromosomes? XX or XY?
Very strange question, but
Not
I
really.
think XY. I could be intersex. Who knows?
Okay, so you were born as a man and you are a man.
No. I was
Okay.
born as a man, and now I'm a woman.
Okay, no, but you don't become a woman just because you dress like a woman.
Oh, goodness. What about my hormones?
I don't become black. Do I become black if I wear blackface?
That is a wild comparison, but hormones by themselves you can actively change. By taking HRT, you can also stop taking the T suppressor.
But people are more than
eventually.
hormones. I mean, you have men with low testosterone. Those are called white dudes for Harris. You can have women with high testosterone. So testosterone, estrogen, and your endocrinology is more than what you are as either a man or a woman.
Sure.
There's brain size. There is how you process information.
Bone
There
density.
is bone density, muscle mass. Every single one of your cells is either coded XX or XY. So let me ask you a question. If I wear a disguise or a costume, do I become that thing? For example, if I dress with a sombrero and start talking with a Mexican accent, do I then become that culture?
No, because that's different race.
Okay,
That's
but then wait,
very different.
why? How is it different? Because you're saying that if you dress a certain way and you present a certain way, you can be as you think you are. Why can't I also just choose what culture I am?
Because you're born within a culture, you're born with.
But you were born as a man.
Thank you, thank you.
But let him finish.
All right, fuck you. Anyways, sorry.
I'm sorry. What did you say? My pronouns are not F you, actually.
Oh, wow, thank you. All right. Anyways. There are many things collectively into a culture that has been built up over time, but not as much as, male or female.
Got it. So what is a woman?
What is a woman is whatever you want to be.
So anyone can be a woman?
Yeah.
Do you get a period?
No. Well, actually, yes. So, no.
Wow. Can you give birth?
No. But a lot of trans people that are on hormones do get PMS symptoms.
Right, but symptoms and is different. I mean, like moodiness or mood swings are not the same thing.
Yeah,
but can you give birth?
Also, cis women don't always have to give birth. Cis women can also have PMS symptoms without getting a period.
Right. So, but you have to. So, a woman can be whatever you want it to be. Is that correct?
Yeah, but cis women can also be and have all of those
So,
things.
under that logic, can I become a bobcat or a giraffe?
I mean, if you want me to call you a bobcat, sure. I don't
So
care.
at some point, don't you see that it's probably a bad idea to give people the ability to identify whatever they want as just because they feel a certain way?
Why would it be a bad thing?
Well, shouldn't we have some sort of objective truth that male and female differences and distinctions matter?
There
and
is
that,
no real male or female distance, especially in archaeology. A lot of
Wait, there's no difference between men and women?
there are some for sure.
Well, what differences
but
are there?
I'm talking about like when you talk about brain size or skeletal bone structure or whatever. Archaeologists, for example, have a very tough time distinguishing between male and sex, or male and female. I apologize. When you see the male skeleton next to the female skeleton, those are very different. Those are
Got
a
it.
range.
So,
Everything else, most people are usually in the middle of
Here's
that.
the kicker. So you are a biological male. No matter how much surgery or hormones you take, you'll never be able to give birth.
Yeah,
So-
I'm okay with that.
Right, but so then what point is womanhood achieved then? At what point do you become a woman?
I feel pretty. Yeah.
So
I can look at myself and not want to kill myself, so
well, hold on. So now we're getting to something. Maybe is it possible that you might have other underlying mental health issues that you are then ascribing as transgenderism that you might not be
No.
treating?
no. I am being treated for other mental illnesses,
Right,
but
but
it is unrelated.
Are they unrelated, or is
Yes.
transgenderism a symptom of other underlying issues that I
No.
hope you get treatment for, such as depression, schizophrenia, anxiety, bipolar tendencies?
No, don't have any of those actually.
You don't have any. You mentioned you have other potential issues.
No, I don't have any potential
She's
issues.
hiding.
No, you don't.
No, I'm
lying.
just cool.
Oh, you're just cool. Got it. So, let me ask one other final question. Do you think it's okay for a 14-year-old to be able to get gender-affirming care?
A 14-year-old can get hormone blockers. That is the extent of what a 14-year-old can get, and that is completely irreversible. So,
Well,
you can get
you
hormone
mean
blockers.
reversible, but it's not reversible. But
It
first
is.
of all, in the no, it's
when
not
you stop
reversible.
taking hormone blockers, then your natural hormones come.
Puberty is not an assembly line where you just press a button and it stops. Secondly,
yeah.
that we are cutting breasts off of kids here in the state of Texas
That is not
illegally.
true.
Yes, a whistleblower, Dr. Ethan Heim, came out in
Dr.
Houston.
Ethan Heim.
Dr. Ethan Heim, and said that we are cutting the breasts off of kids irreversibly in Houston, Texas. Also happens in LA, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. So it does happen. Do you think it should be illegal to say that kids should not be able to irreversibly damage themselves?
Well, even so, let's say a bunch of kids are getting gender affirming.
Thousands of kids every month.
Let's say, all right, that is a decision between the child, the parent, and the doctor. That has nothing to do with you. Why
it.
do you have a say in
So
that?
should kids be able to get tattoos?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Should kids be able to own AR-15s?
No,
Why?
because that is harmful. It can be
So AR-15s are harmful, but cutting off your breasts or potentially castrating yourself, gender-affirming care.
I mean, given that you're under anesthesia,
Do you understand the medieval horror that you're advocating for? Where we say, no.
Yes.
So a 15-year-old, puberty is not the problem. Puberty is the solution to the trans issue. Where that almost every young lady or young man will have some sort of anxiety of how they feel at age 12, 13, 14, 15. Maybe instead of telling them that they might be somebody in another body, we should allow them to continue to grow and develop into the body that God made them in, and say that puberty will actually solve the problem.
all right.
And I want to just close by this. I have a lot of compassion for you because you're going down a journey where you'll never actually hit your destination. Because
I'm at there. I'm right there.
well,
I'm at my destination.
you're at your destination.
Yes. I feel great.
Okay.
That's
Well, again,
That's literally all it is.
the studies show that over a period of time, you're going to keep on searching for more surgical interventions and more drugs.
No.
Where my hope for you is, I wish that you would live in the body that God gave you, not trying to declare war on the body that God gave you.
Okay.
And that's my hope for you.
Okay.
Because I think you will be a happier person instead of nuking your body with artificial hormones,
Okay.
pretending to be somebody that you're not.
I will say one more thing and I'll go. I don't believe that God makes mistakes. God created me as a male, and I want to be a woman. That is the same way that God created grapes but not wine. It is so that humanity can take part in the witness of creation, of transformation.
We're not called to transform our bodies. We're called to surrender to God and
Thank
how
you.
God made us. But at what age did you think you were a woman?
16.
Okay, is there any part of you that said maybe 16-year-olds make bad decisions?
I mean, partially, yes.
Have
but
you ever second-guessed your decision?
At first, sure. But after a year, no. Not.
Oh, you've only been doing this a year?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying a year around 17, I never second guessed.
I'm going to pray for you because you're
All
on a
right,
you're on a destructive journey, and it's not going to end well. God bless you. Thank you so
All right,
much.
see ya.
What?
Shattering?
Yes. Yes. It's who they are now. People don't transition just for the hell of it, you know? It's a very personal thing to them. They don't do it to appeal to the other gender or whatnot.
Yeah, but let's think about it. Isn't it part of their biography? Can you really erase history and act as if that wasn't your name for a while? For example, it was another name than Rachel Levine.
Well, why do names matter so much? I mean, it's what you want to be called. It's just a title for you.
But it's part of your biography, right? It's a fact that a man who now thinks he's a woman had a family, got married, and then magically decided to no longer be a man. I was talking facts, so your problem would be with telling of a biography?
Well, I mean, it's not as deep as you think it is. It's just somebody, it's them now. And it's just being respectful.
Oh, okay, but it's being respectful by not being able to act as if they were something that they weren't. Isn't their whole identity in being no longer what they were? So it shouldn't shatter
it's
them.
not their
It should be
entire
empower them.
No.
So then why do they call themselves trans if it's not their whole identity?
Well, they don't.
She's
People don't go out
confused.
saying, "Guess what? I'm trans."
Yeah, they
just
do.
kind of exist.
They do.
That's Twitter. That's Twitter. I can guarantee you.
And TikTok and most campuses and the
Well,
trans groups and the
no.
trans flag and the trans
No,
parade and the trans music
no.
and the trans stuff. People say they're trans all the time. If the change is not part of their identity, then why do they call themselves trans?
Well, I mean, it's just a title. Everybody, like, our society is more, we want titles for just about everything.
I agree. So
Yeah.
I don't accept the title, and I should have a right not to accept it.
Thank you.
Well, everybody has a right to be respected. They haven't done any wrong to
No,
you.
you don't have a right to be respected. You have a right to speak. You have to earn respect in a decent society.
That's true.
Okay, I'm sorry. I want to fully understand what you mean. Like,
Yeah, so for example, I don't respect the Unabomber.
okay,
That's an extreme example.
okay,
I don't respect people that perform abortions.
okay,
I don't respect people that medically mutilate children.
okay.
And I don't respect someone that is taking Lupron and says they're a man all of a sudden and demands I comply. That's not the way the world works. Respect must be earned.
I think respect is just a give. Like, it's a base thing. It's not like I'm gonna go into this room and say I disrespect every single one of you because you don't believe what I believe or you're not presenting how I want. I mean.
Well, okay, so what about my respect? Why was I kicked off Twitter? You said it's wrong, but you can all of a sudden see where your viewpoint quickly becomes, and we have to shut somebody up because you deserve respect.
I mean, honest to God, I'm not trying to, I'm kind of losing my thoughts a little bit, but I just want to put out there that I think it's just basic human respect. It's not that deep. People just, if they feel one way,
They're
and
delusional.
they
You tell
truly
them
believe
they're
it. It's not just,
delusional. It's not about
shit,
respect.
I feel like being a boy now. It's not just a on-the-whim decision. It's something that's held inside them.
Right, well, hold on a second. But I just want to, I think you're being sincere in
Yes.
this regard, but why, so let's just take gender-affirming care or whatever you might call it,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
So affirming someone's mental delusion, where they think they're a man or a woman, why is that the appropriate line of treatment? For example, do we give liposuction to people that are anorexic?
Well, no, I mean, I think.
No, because we know better. We know it's going to harm them, and we love
Yes.
that person.
No,
So that's not medicine. That would be torture.
Yeah, and not everybody who decides to transition decides to change their genitalia or go through something completely irreversible, right?
That's true. Some do, though. Tens of thousands.
I have conflicted opinions on gender affirming surgery because it's irreversible, and if it's a decision made too young of an age, then it's not right to do it on children.
No, that's fair. I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
I really mean that, and you should be encouraged. I wish more people were sane enough to say that. But let me kind of complete the point. A biography should not be eliminated because someone demands respect. For example, I can say that Muhammad Ali used to be called Cassius Clay. It's part of his life. And then he found Islam, and he decided to be called something else. And all of a sudden, you get this rancor and this uproar that somehow I'm being hateful and no longer worthy of a Twitter platform because I said a fact that Levine had a name and a family and was a man and then claims he's a woman. If all of a sudden history and facts can be erased, we are dangerously approaching a 1984 dystopian world control scenario that I don't think any of us should entertain. Final thoughts?
Okay, to wrap it up, my point was basically just I think it's better to normalize or not normalize, but like not put out that it's okay to do these types of things. I think it's just general human respect. I think we just all need to become more accepting, and we don't really need to, you know.
Got it. And so my opinion is 180. We have clarity, not agreement. I'm not going to accept mental delusions with force.
Me too.
Here's my question. So you think there are two genders. Okay. But the definition of gender, although it's incredibly hard to define, is basically how I feel towards my biological sex. But in theory, I can feel an infinite amount of ways about my biological sex. So in theory, there are like an infinite amount of genders. But you say there's only two, so A, I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. Secondly, you also, every time you use the word gender, you could replace it with the word sex every single time. Also, you say we shouldn't concede linguistic ground to the left, but you use the word gender constantly in discourse. To me, it seems like you just don't think gender exists, or at the very least has no epistemic credibility in public discourse. So why do you concede that linguistic ground if you basically don't think it exists logically?
Okay, yeah, I think gender and sex are interchangeable words. They're exactly the same thing. So, I mean, do you agree with that? Or?
Oh, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Oh, okay, cool. So you believe there's two genders, two sexes. So, yeah, you'll probably make a good point. I see what you're saying here, is that why even use the word gender at all? Yeah, I mean, colloquially, it's used a lot in society. I also think it's a way to kind of draw the line against the transgender movement because they've intentionally kind of gone onto that social word gender, of which is a new age postmodern term that really did not exist prior to the 1970s, 1980s. So I think you actually make a pretty good point about ceding ground, but the intent is that I believe gender and sex are directly related. Thank you.
I gotta say, I'm pretty confused. I kind of want to tell you about my situation because I've been a little confused lately about kind of like myself. I came here and I've been considering things a lot more, and I kind of present a little more feminine, but I actually was born a man, and
Okay.
I wanted to know, like I personally like pronouns. I've been trying to think about it, but I wanted to know what your thoughts are on like me, like. What do you think? What path do you think I should go down? Like, what is your advice?
Sure. Okay, so you were born a man, so XY chromosomes. And did you go through surgery, or did you
Not
take
yet.
puberty blockers? Or
Yes, I
you
did.
What age did you take puberty blockers?
I started, I think, when I was 11.
Wow. What?
Yeah.
Do you think they helped you?
It's hard to tell because obviously I've never lived a life where I went through puberty like as a man, so it's hard for me to compare.
And I'm just curious, honestly. Do you kind of regret that?
I don't know if it's gotten to that point yet.
No, that's fine.
Again, it's hard for me to compare.
Yeah, it's a toughie, right? Because you can't like reverse it, right?
If I stop taking them completely, it will be reversed.
Okay.
And I will eventually go through male puberty and become a man, which I am considering.
Yeah, so I mean, look, I'm not here to tell you what to do with your life, right? But I believe that you should pray. I don't know if you believe in God or not, but I do. Right? Okay, so hear me out. I think that living with your natural design would give you more peace than I think you might realize.
Okay, thank you. Can you send my arm, please? As like a little memento.
All right.
Wait, where's the pen? Thank you. Here.
All right. All right. I don't know if that helps or not.
No,
so.
It does. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you for being. What's up?
So, I think the difference is between a gender and a sex.
So
Culturally speaking, in a lot of different historical societies, from from Africa to the Pacific Islanders, there's long been held a distinction between what a gender is and what a sex is. With the sex being sexually, you either have a penis or a vagina, whereas gender-wise, there's been a lot of more fluidity there. Specifically with the Pacific Islander example, they've considered there to be up to like 4 or 5 different individual genders, not just man and woman, but also considered things like, now I can't remember the names that they had for them. But there was always that idea that gender was a social construct, whereas sex is a biological construct. So there have to be only 2 sexes, but there can be any number of genders because obviously it's a social construct. Whatever society agrees on would have to go. What do you think about that?
So just because civilizations have done it in the past doesn't make it a good idea.
True.
But recognizing that it did happen, we would make the argument that there's 2 sexes and 2 genders, and gender and sex are directly related.
Why would you say it's not a good idea to differentiate? It's because it seems to me that with all the people out there yelling that there should be more than one gender, it would make the most societal sense.
Well, I do believe there's more than one gender.
Yeah, of
course.
course.
You said, well,
It's always
No, I know, I didn't mean to trap you in words. I know.
open for debate and dialogue.
But how many genders would you say there are?
Well, I myself don't really see a need to limit that idea.
Limit.
As if it is a social. So, for instance, continents, right? Continents are a social construct. The idea that there are 7 continents comes down to simply what lines have been drawn historically speaking. From my point of view,
I've never heard that one before, but that's
it's an interesting thing to look into historically speaking, because look at like Europe and Asia, for instance. The 2 of them look like they should be
right.
one
But
land.
here's the difference: is that there's not chromosomal structures within continents.
No, but that's sex.
No,
right?
but we would make the argument that sex and gender are directly related, and what makes the Western tradition unique and should be appreciated and defended is that gender and sex have always been directly related.
Except they haven't, Western speaking.
In the Western tradition, yes.
The ancient Greeks haven't. The ancient Greeks
Okay,
are where we
the
get
ancient-
our Western tradition
Okay,
from originally.
again, the ancient Greeks were not part of the Western tradition, but
don't think
some. I would say that some of our thinking and some of the inspiration of the founding came from Aristotelian or Socratic or Plato. Yeah, I would say that. But not everything the Greeks
No,
did,
not everything.
we adopted. But the Western tradition, so post-1800, gender and sex being directly related. This comes back to a question of identity. So the question is, can you choose to be something that you're not? We would say, no. I mean, you could choose. You have the freedom to be whatever you want to say, but you also don't have the power to force me to call you something else.
Getting lost a little bit in that point, because I think it's an interesting idea. That said, I know exactly where this is going to end up leading, but I'm going to ask the question
Sure.
anyway. If I were a police officer, right, and I wanted to become a lawyer, what's to stop me from doing it?
Nothing. You can go to school and become certified towards that.
So if I-
But that's an identity based on merit.
Yeah.
That's an identity based on
Not
choices.
necessarily merit. I could be a really shitty lawyer, but I'm still
Well, you have
a
to
lawyer.
pass the bar, don't you?
Yeah, but
So
a
that's
lot
merit.
of really shitty lawyers pass the bar.
Well, no doubt, but there is some form of achievement standard to become a lawyer, whether
Maybe,
it
but
should be or
in
not.
America, the entire idea of choice, right? You know, we have democracy. We get the choice to be whatever we want to be.
No
That's
doubt,
always
but you
part of our
don't have the choice to tell me what to call you. That's the problem. You see where that starts to
So
get
you
kind of
think-
dangerous.
so-
Yeah, anyone can be anything they want. I mean, I know plenty of transgender people, and I consider some of them friends.
So you rather think that rather than say, okay, I can be whatever gender I want, but you don't need to necessarily.
Of course,
decide
you have
when-
the freedom. I don't think a government agency should come through. You know what I do think is dangerous? Adding a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th box on a birth certificate, which is already happening in Canada. They're adding a non-binary box in Canada for gender. I think that's wrong. I think that's morally reprehensible.
Now, I would disagree on morally reprehensible, but I think that is an
Do you want me to tell you why I think it's morally reprehensible? Because children typically live in a state of confusion. Would you agree? They're trying to understand language. They're trying to understand
So
their
you
place
think
in the
it's
world. Let me
getting
finish
there
real
that
quick.
they're a gender field?
No, let me finish. So to add more confusion to a child's already discovery in a place in a very chaotic world, I consider to be morally questionable, if not reprehensible. It is society's, parents, and communities' right to try to guide a child to develop into a chaotic world. To say to a child, "Oh, you can choose whatever you want to be," that's adding more chaos into a child's life that will only lead to suffering.
I would have the caveat that I think children are pretty chaotic beings.
No, that's what I'm saying. So why add more chaos to a child's life? So in Canada, they have a 3rd box right now, which is a non-binary box. So you can allow a child to choose whatever gender they want to be, which is fine later on as they start to mature.
Now, see, for me, the line that I would draw is, I see where you're coming from with that. And for me, the line would be more of a matter of, we talk about transgender, and you talk about actually changing one's sex. Actually going through the surgery.
Which, of course, everyone has. You have a right to do that.
See, actually, I would almost disagree with that more about the child thing, because you see parents going out there and allowing their children doing that.
So let me give you an example. So in Oregon, without parental consent, at age 15, you can have the state pay for your sex realignment surgery.
Right.
Do you think there's something wrong with that?
Yes.
Okay, you do. Good. So we agree.
Oh, absolutely. So here's the thing. 15, you're not even young enough to legally drink.
No, exactly.
You're not legally young enough to do anything.
You and I have agreement. I think there's something wrong when a 15-year-old can go get state-funded sex reassignment surgery without telling their parents.
I agree with that, but here's the thing. I think that's wrong. I don't necessarily think that if you're 15 years old and you want to identify as some other gender, like male, him, her, non-binary.
Yes, and it's incumbent on the individual to be respectful towards that person's dignity.
Yes,
but however, you must have, and you do it because you're being very respectful, as much understanding that I can say that there's two genders. You see?
Yeah, and I think you're fine. You're to consider that. You say that you're fine with there being more than one gender, as in if I want to identify something else, it's fine. You just don't want to have to call me. And I think
that's correct.
That's a fine point. But if I were to identify as another gender, wouldn't I think that your idea of two genders be a little offensive?
It might. I mean, it would be no more offensive than someone having a religious difference or political difference. See, my opinion is rooted first and foremost in biology.
Yeah, but people find their political differences to be offensive also.
No, that's okay, but I couldn't care less if people find my political differences offensive.
Okay.
Wearing this hat is considered to be offensive, despite the heroic
I
work
would
they do.
disagree simply because that hat represents their agency, not necessarily what that government agency is doing.
It also represents the members of that government agency and their mission statement.
We can worry about what's
so,
right.
but you shouldn't.
We're right.
You shouldn't
Or we
stop
can worry about
saying or
what's your
doing
issue?
something
What's your problem?
just
How
because
can I
you think
be of
it's going to
service?
offend
How can I
somebody.
help? How can I
I
love
gotta get
you
to class,
today?
but thank you very much for your
It's
time.
the best way
You're
to
really
love
respectful. Thank you.
This entire conversation was very beautiful to watch from start to the end. You see, whenever it comes to all these trans people, like, they are living in a state of delusion. And the best thing for people who are around them to do is to advise them that what you're thinking, what you're doing is wrong. The generation we are in right now is that people seize the truth and they choose to hide it because they're afraid of hurting other people's feelings. So the more you hide it from them, you are actually hurting them more. It's best to tell them the truth early, that they should make corrections. At the age of 11, like that lady who started taking puberty blocker at the age of 11, that was a terrible thing to do. And she's messing around with her hormone, which is terrible. She did not really know how it feels to be a man. And she's living in a state of delusion, or he's living in a state of delusion, pardon me, because he was originally a man who have X and Y chromosome. So every single one of them who came here, starting from the first man who came there, or first boy who came there, that was like, he chooses to want to transgender because he feels like he's more comfortable being a woman. But you are a man. We know you're a man, and you know you have XY chromosome, but you choose to accept the feminine aspect. It's terrible. And I feel like this should be something we should all be talking about more and bringing awareness to people that this is terrible. If you love someone, you tell them the truth. If it hurts them, fine. If it's just to see light with you, fine. If they do not accept it, fine. If they accept it, good, better. So what Charlie is doing right now is bringing light to these people. And they still choose to be brainwashed and feel like they're doing the right thing. Sex and gender, they are actually entwined. They are actually together. So what LGBTQ people are doing and these queer people are doing, they're trying to make it look different and make us feel stupid. That's what's pissing me off. They're trying to make us look as if we're stupid. There are thousands of genders. Whereas we all know that there's only male and female, period, that's all. Male and female, that's all. You can't change that. A transgender who was a man can never give birth in this life. No matter how many hormone blockers he took, no matter how many surgery he performed, you can never give birth. It's as simple as that. If you're being a cisgender or whatever you call yourself, you can never give birth. The truth is that You came into this man as a man. You came into this world as a man. Accept that. If you are feeling depressed, if you are feeling bullied, if you are feeling suicidal, it's something you should go meet a therapist for. Something you should talk about more so that they will put you in the right frame. Some of these people who are transitioning and stuff, they're actually not comfortable in their body. They feel people are talking bad about it. They're not beautiful enough. They're not fine enough. So they're feeling insecure. It's not like they don't like the body they're in. They're feeling insecure of what people are saying. So they want to change, which is a naive behavior. So when those people meet an adult is to put them straight. That this is what you're about to do is wrong. You have to first accept yourself before other people are going to accept you. I watched a video about a counselor, a student counselor who was advising students to actually transition, which is a terrible thing. Such people should be fired from school, from colleges. But right now, what we're seeing is that colleges are accepting this propaganda, this nonsense, this bullshit of queer people, even putting queer book in front of the library for people to read, which is terrible. The society we're living right now is, it's bad. It's really, really bad. It's affecting our students, it's affecting our people. There was the first guy who was there who transitioned to be a woman was like, he made a statement that God brought grape, so we should turn into wine. That is a goddamn bullshit excuse to you to tell that God made you a man, that you can choose to transition to whoever you choose to be. That's a stupid delusion. You see what I'm saying? These people they're making fantasies for themselves and making ideas for their own self to believe that what they're saying is right, which is terrible. There is God who hates homosexuals, it's written in the Bible. Homosexuals, pedophiles, adulterers, rapists, those people, what they're doing is bad. It's even in the Bible. God detests such. So you making excuses for yourself is a bad thing to do. People have to accept the fact that what they're doing is wrong. Until you do that, before you can make changes to yourself. I love how Charlie handled every single one of them. I don't want to shout. My voice have actually changed because I've been screaming from my previous videos. So I'm trying to take it easy. Because Charlie is bringing light to the students and some of them choose not to accept, whereas they know what Charlie is saying is true, but they choose not to accept him. Try to believe that what he's saying is wrong. Some of them do not come with a good faith. They just want to argue and raise their voices. So whether they believe it or not, but what Charlie says makes a lot of sense. And if they take that lessons, they will have a better life. Comment down below what you think about this video. Give us a thumbs up. Share this video to as many as you can. Subscribe to our channel, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you stay safe.